beautiful people. Today I've got a thriller recommendation video for you guys. These thrillers really remind me of summer. We've got two themes that we're going to explore today. The first theme are isolated settings, but isolated settings that are summery. So no snow involved in these thrillers. The second theme is final girls. Slasher movies always tend to have final girls in them, and for some reason, to me, I think of slasher movies with summer. I don't know why. So these are the two themes that we're going to go through. I've got 3 recommendations for each, going from creepy to creepiest. Let's dive in. We're starting with isolated settings. First up is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This book is set on a beachfront property. We've got Emma living alone there, aside from her dog, her golden retriever that she adores and who follows her around this property. The only human interaction that she really has is with the person that she's renting from, as well as a man who lives across the lake. She is here at this beachfront property to just rejuvenate herself. She's gone through a hard time and she needs to settle down and refocus on her life. And so she's just basically sitting around and reading books. And she reads a horror book that she just cannot stand. It is kind of misogynistic, and she writes a terrible review. And then the author replies and it says, excuse me, I worked really hard on that. Can you please take down your review? She's like, no, this was fair game. You wrote a book. So what? I didn't like it. So what? And they go back and forth, and the author gets more and more threatening. She chalks it up to like a diva kind of author, goes to bed, and then things start happening at the place that she's staying. Strange things, scary things. And she thinks, did this author somehow find me? And you go from there. This book will get your heart racing. Absolutely. Especially if you, like me, are a little bit afraid of like breaking and entering stories. Those ones always get me. But there is humor in this. You are reading from our main character's perspective, but you're also reading from the perspective of the person breaking and entering. And he is hilarious in a twisted way, but I just felt like Taylor Adams was having such a fun time writing this book. And so, yes, I got scared, but not over the top scared. Next is A Keeper by Graham Norton. And it is that Graham Norton who has a talk show in Britain. He is hilarious, but he's also a brilliant author. This follows a woman named Elizabeth. She is going home to Ireland. Her mother has recently passed away, and she is tasked with going through all of her belongings and selling the house. And as she's going through everything, she finds a stash of letters that tell a story about what her mother went through some 40 years ago. Every once in a while, a literary thriller book will grab you by the throat and not let go. And this is one of those things. To me, at least, what you're learning about what the mom goes through 40 years ago is so terrifying because it's so believable. The characters that the mom has to interact with are so well fleshed out and so like ruthless, but think that they have like stand on some moral high ground. And it just makes you absolutely terrified for the mom. There's just something about how human these people are that just scared the heck out of me. I know that some people will agree with me and some people will not, but I highly recommend reading A Keeper. Okay, the creepiest naturally would be a horror book. This is The Twisted Ones, and this takes place in the woods. We follow a girl named Mouse along with her dog. They have been tasked with going through her grandmother's home And her grandma and her grandfather, they were hoarders. And so she is working her way through. They have long since passed. But she's working her way through it. Her grandma was a really nasty, nasty woman to her. So she's very much doing it reluctantly. But she does stumble upon a journal that her step-grandfather wrote. It documents some very strange things that her grandfather experienced. And soon after starting going through this journal, strange things happened to her on the land surrounding the home and also in the home. There are things, creatures, something around the house. And there is a scene in here where there's something going across the porch and she's just hiding and trying to be as quiet as possible. And a creature or something going past the window. And I will never get that scene out of my head. I so highly recommend this one. The next theme is Final Girls. Again, going from creepy to creepiest. First up, we've got the Majesties. This follows two sisters, Gwendolyn and Estella, and they have been very close throughout their lives. They're dealing with a really messed up family, very, very powerful family. Think like Succession vibes, very powerful, very, very wealthy, but messed up. And so they've really relied on each other until one day, Estella has decided to poison the entire family at a family gathering. Everyone has died except for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is now in a coma, and you are meeting her in the coma, and she is piecing together things from their lives leading up to the mass murder of all of her family. Why did Estella do what she did? You find out in this book. Again, like, this is literary fiction, I will say, and it really is that character exploration of relationships, what drove Estella to do what she did to this family, how they kind of muddled through dealing with particular people in the family, and then essentially what drives Estella to murder, mass murder. Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager is next, and this follows a girl named Emma. Now, when she was younger, she used to go to a summer camp every summer, and one summer, 3 of her cabin mates sneak out in the middle of the night and they're never seen again. Now, Emma has definitely had to deal with some of the trauma surrounding this. She is an artist when she grows up. She's kind of blown up I think in the New York art scene, and she uses this traumatizing moment in her life in her paintings. She'll draw paintings of trees and stuff, and there's always these 3 figures in the trees. And one day she is approached by someone who is interested in her artwork, but she also knows her from her past. This woman has bought the camp, which had, of course, shut down after 3 girls went missing. She bought the camp. She wants to reopen it, and she wants Emma to come with her and become like an art counselor, camp counselor. And Emma agrees to do it. And as soon as she arrives, don't more girls go missing. It's absolutely creepy in the best of ways. Riley Sager really pays homage to horror movies. He used to do that so much more at the beginning of his writing career. So I usually like his earlier books more. And I think this is the second one that he wrote. Really enjoyed it. Definite summer vibes here. The absolute creepiest book that I have to recommend to you here is The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard. This is a book within a book, essentially. We've got Eve, who at 12 is the sole survivor of a mass murder of her family. A man has come into their home in the night, killed everyone except for her. She's the sole survivor. And she's written a memoir. And doesn't that memoir land on the shelves of the supermarket where security guard Jim works? And Jim is that mass murderer. He is known as the Nothing Man. He sees that this girl that survived wrote about him, and he starts reading it, and he realizes she's been trying to track him down, trying to find out who killed her whole family. And this brings them closer and closer and closer together through the course of this book. This book was inspired by a book that Catherine Ryan Howard had read called I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. And that book is about the Golden State Killer. And Michelle McNamara, like in her past time, she had a daughter, she had a husband. In her downtime, she would try to track down the Golden State Killer because he had murdered people, raped people, and just kind of vanished. And she wanted to find out who this person was. And Catherine Ryan Howard read that book and thought, what if the Golden State Killer picked up I'll Be Gone in the Dark and read it? What would that be like? And that inspired this entire thing. And that in and of itself just is creepy beyond belief, disturbing beyond belief. This is Twisty Turny in all of the best ways, and I think you'll love it. Those are all of the books that I wanted to recommend to you today. Let me know if there are any like thrillery themes that you'd want some recommendations for, and also, do you have any recommendations for final girl books? I'd love to know. And also, of course, isolated settings. Enjoy them so much. I will talk with you very soon. Bye bye.